Cameron a few minutes to give some of his reasons as to why he's decided to run for a member of provincial parliament, and then I'll come back up and say a few words about how we can all get involved in helping put Cameron at Queen's Park. So I'm just going to turn it over to Cameron now and let him say a few words.
Okay, thank you. So, those of you who know me know how much I love public speaking, which is why I have notes. So please forgive me of that. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out, to all the volunteers who are here, and the people who will volunteer, the supporters, people who are just kind of curious, even the conservatives in the crowd, and people who are hungry, whatever brought you here, thank you very much. Thanks very much for the organizers and the people that have been working really hard. The kind of nice thing about being a candidate is that I can just stand here and not be involved in all this, so it's kind of good for change. So, and to the Vincers, thank you so much for hosting us here. It's really wonderful. So, oh, there's one of them. So, thanks very much. And a lot of people have been asking lately, sort of how I got involved with the NDP, or when it is that I became more politically minded, and I started thinking a little bit about my childhood, if there was any kind of instance that might have shown, some kind of signs of becoming a bleeding heart New Democrat. And I was thinking about when I was younger, my mother, who was raising us, as single parents typically do. Single parents often struggle financially, and so she worked hard to make sure that our household kept on going and raised 3 kids and did a great job. And even though money was tight, sorry, as a kid I still knew that money was tight. It's kind of amazing how kids kind of have that sense that where your family sits financially. But every now and then my mother would find a little bit of extra money. She'd find a little bit of extra money to give us an allowance. So it wasn't, the weekly allowance like I saw on TV, but every now and then she'd hand a nice $2 bill, and I do remember those. And I'm even old enough to remember $1 bills. So she'd hand this $2 bill, and she reminded me later that I would actually give it back and say, actually you need this more than I do, right? Because I was a child, I was going to go spend the money on candy, and she needed money to pay bills. And so even as a child I understood that. And I think that, as far as the NDP, this is the party that understands the differences between need and want. And it's a little bit sad that sometimes you have to fight that battle, with other parties on, who needs help and who maybe wants. And that's, I think, the good fight that we're fighting. One of the amazing things that I've experienced so far in this campaign are the people that are coming up to me and saying, hey, you're talking about poverty issues, that's fantastic, and congratulating me on talking about poverty, which is kind of a sad thing to hear, that people get excited that somebody's talking about poverty. You should think that it should be front and center in our political discourse. But people are really hungry to see change in politics, I think, and people are getting frustrated with inaction in government on things like poverty. The Liberals, for example, in this campaign have realized that tuition is too high, and they're ready to cut it. It's a shame that they didn't do it in 2003, and 2004, and 2005, etc. While the tuition kept on creeping up and bringing post-secondary education further out of reach for many people. Back in the 90s, we had Mike Harris slash social assistance. It made a huge cut to it, and then we had Dalton McGuinty sort of continue business as usual with social assistance, and actually last year made a major cut to the special diet allowance, which has affected many people here even. And I mean, it's nice that the Liberals have now realized that social assistance is broken, and unfortunately the answer is a provincial review, which is a good thing. It's just a shame that it had to wait 8 years to get to that point. So, after a generation of Tory and Liberal governments, we have a society that's more unequal, it's more unfair, with less opportunity than the Ontario that I grew up in. I had some friends here with their little babies, and they had to run because babies didn't like the sun. But so they headed out. But I want to make sure that we have an Ontario that really works for them, for their children, and that they have opportunity when they're growing up. So I think we need to fight for a better deal for families and for people. So the commitment that I want to give as MPP is that I won't stop talking about poverty, and I won't stop talking about inequality until we end it. And I believe that we can. In a 4-year mandate, can the NDP end poverty? No, of course not. Poverty is cyclical and it's ingrained. It takes a generation or more to make real substantial change. But it's time to roll up our sleeves and get started. Recently, Jack Layton, of course, we know passed on. There was one message that he had for us, and that's to have a dream that lasts longer than a lifetime. And I think for many of us here, and for myself, that dream is in Ontario, a greater opportunity where everyone grows up with opportunity, has access to a job, maybe even a pension, and where the government services are accessible to all. Poverty can begin and end with everything that the government touches. Ending poverty is possible if in every aspect of government we give proper consideration to the 3 words that I talked about on my nomination night: equality, access, and opportunity. We need equality in our government's approach to spending, based on the needs of people and not just the wants. Access to employment needs to be equal, no matter your gender, your ethnicity, where you were born, your socioeconomic background, any of the other ways that we like to divide people up, and have real opportunity for people no matter where it is that you're born, if it's in Kitchener or Toronto or Kapuskasing or Attawapiskat or China or Brazil. It doesn't matter. If you're here, you should have the same opportunity that everybody else does. I think with that kind of an approach to government, with that kind of commitment, ending poverty is possible. Early on in my work at the Working Centre, my boss, Stephanie Mancini, said something very simple, but it completely blew my mind. She said that she didn't want us to provide services to people, that providing services was what other agencies did. She wanted us to be of service to people. And it's such a simple thought, but it actually really changed the way that I thought of things. And I started to think about government, that this is the problem in government, that government's so obsessed with providing services for people and not really thinking about how can we be of service to people. And I think that's what I will bring as MPP of Kitchener Centre, is I will be of service to people here. And I think all of us can be a part of that. We make a commitment to this campaign, to putting in a new democratic government. We can be of service to people. So I'm asking you to help out. If you can spare an hour, dropping off flyers, making phone calls, all of the fun stuff that we do on a campaign, it would be wonderful. And Peter will tell you about how to get hooked up with that. If you have a spare dollar, we don't raise the kind of money that the other parties raise, typically because we're not fighting for the same people that the other parties are, and I think I'm quite proud of that. But at the same time, if we can contribute what we can put on a really good campaign and win this. So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Everybody who has volunteered already, everybody who's going to sign up to volunteer, putting out a lawn sign, making a donation, whatever you can do. Your commitment to social justice, commitment to this community is really appreciated by me, and I'm really fortunate and very thankful to be a part of it. So thank you very much. Let's get started on winning this campaign and creating an Ontario that's of service for people. Thank you.
So what I have here are